Hello again. I dare say that many viewers will have noticed how keen the BBC is to pretend that members of ethnic minorities now form a new elite in Britain and run the army, navy, secret service, police force and every other important institution. This is, by the way, not just some moany old guy complaining about the way the country is these days. The country is not like that at all. It is a fantasy which the BBC has set out quite deliberately to create, and their version of Britain bears no relation at all to the actual world. This disparity between the way things are and the way that the BBC evidently thinks that they should be is neatly illustrated by looking at the new thriller which they will be broadcasting at the coming bank holiday weekend. Vigil, the name of a nuclear submarine, which forms a central part of the plot, is the name of this new series. All the action takes place either on this vessel or among police officers and senior officers of the Navy. Let us begin by asking ourselves what the Royal Navy is like in the real world, outside the fevered imagination of BBC scriptwriters, that is. I give a link in the description to this video to a British government document which gives the ethnicity of officers and ordinary sailors in the Royal Navy. Roughly 2%, or 1 in 50 of naval officers, belong to an ethnic minority. 5% of sailors are from minorities. What this means in practical terms is that 49 out of 50 officers are white and around 19 out of 20 sailors are also white. Ethnic minorities are rare in the Royal Navy. I'm not saying whether this should be the case or whether it would be desirable if it were to change. I am saying plainly that it is the case. Now look at the thumbnail to this video, which shows a scene on a nuclear submarine from the new thriller. At once we see that out of 6 members of the crew, 3 belong to visible minorities. There is a Chinese guy, an Indian and a black man, who is incidentally the commander of the vessel. In short, the BBC show ethnic minorities as making up 50% of the Navy, instead of the actual 5%. They have set out to show 10 times as many visible minority crew members in the Navy as is actually the case in the real world. This is not the whole story though, because they have done the same with senior naval officers and the police force. I also give a link to the IMDb list of cast for this series, and it makes extraordinary reading. It goes without saying that all the senior police officers are women and that they are ably assisted by black people and Asians. We expect that these days. Nobody wants to see a white man solving a crime unless it is some period piece and nostalgic thing like the 1960s series Endeavour. These days we expect detectives to be women and their sidekicks to belong to some minority or other. The police officer who goes on board the submarine to investigate a mysterious death is therefore a woman, as of course is her superior. She liaises with a naval lieutenant commander who also happens to be not just a woman but an Indian woman at that. Double points for diversity and inclusion there, I fancy. The top officer in the programme is called Admiral Scott. This is not only a woman, but one whose parents were born in Cuba and the Dominican Republic. How many female admirals are there in the Royal Navy? The very first took up her post a week ago. When the thriller was being filmed, there was not a single female admiral, which makes the inclusion of an ethnic minority woman in the role utterly grotesque. Still, I suppose one can't really have a man in such a role these days. Let me read out the names and descriptions of some of the cast of Vigil so that viewers can savour to the full the weirdness of the world which the BBC have created. Patterson Joseph, who is black, is the commander of the submarine. Lolita Chakrabarti is the lieutenant commander, who is an important figure ashore. Dan Lee, who is Chinese, is on board the submarine, as is Parth Thakara, who is of Indian origin. Then we have Frode Simbo and Morgan Archer, who are both black, as is Lois Chimimba. Anita Vates is from Sri Lanka, and we also have Aisha Toussaint and Angelique Fernandez. Remember, this is a series set in the Royal Navy and the British Police. The overwhelming need of the BBC to portray Britain as being a non-white nation has now reached a peak, and they seem determined to avoid employing white English people as actors, especially men, if it can possibly be done. I sometimes wonder what motivates this hatred of their own country and ethnicity.